Hello friends, welcome to 30 Minutes Learning for a quick discussion on JMeter performance testing. We'll talk about how we can pass a header to a service, assert JSON response, extract one element from one service and provide to another service, and many more. Please like the video, subscribe to my channel. This is the JMeter tool that we will be using for our performance testing. We can download this tool from jmeter.apache.org. I'll put the link in the description. We can click either on the zip or the tzip file. Once you download it, extract the zip file and put it in the location that you want. This binary supports all the operating systems, so you need not download for a specific OS. Once you have downloaded and open it, this is how the tool will look like. Now let's look at the to-do service which we will put under load. This project has get call, post, delete. Get call will give you all the tasks available in the to-do list. So we have got 4 tasks. Delete will delete a task. Say buy EV1 is a task which we will delete here. We can specify the task name in the path variable, and when we hit, this will be deleted. There is no body to this and the status is 200 OK. And if we try to pull again, this task will not be there. And we can add a new task using post, and the URL will be host, post and the task, and we can specify task name and name of the task. JMeter gives you an empty slate with a test plan. Let's give it a name, to-do service, and first we have to then create a thread group. Let's rename it to to-do users. Then we can define the number of users that we want, like so here. So here we'll be having 1 user, and the ramp up time for user would be 1 second. It will be executed for 1 time only. If we make it 2, it will execute 2 times with 1 user. And if I have, say for example, 10 users and set a ramp up time of 10 seconds and loop count 1. This means that JMeter will initiate a new thread, that is new user, every 10 seconds until it reaches the maximum of 10 that we have defined here. Since we have set the loop count to 1, it will execute only 10 threads. Thread group also allows you to control if there is any error while executing the request. So here we can define the action, that is either continue, start a new thread, stop the thread, and stop the test. After setting up the thread group, now the next section would be to create a HTTP sampler. But before that, we'll create a config element, that is the HTTP request default. If we have a test which will be pointing to one endpoint, we can set up the host and port here in the HTTP request default instead of configuring in every HTTP sampler. So here we can also define the proxy, IP, and the username, password, and everything here, so that we don't have to repeat in every HTTP sampler. We can also provide the same in the HTTP request sampler, but it is more manageable to use request default instead of defining every time in the sampler. So here we will take the IP from the postman and put it over here, and the port is 8080. Now let's discuss the plan that we will be taking for doing a performance test on JMeter. As we have a task, we'll make a get call first to get all the tasks, and we'll pick the first task name, and we'll make a delete call with the task name that we have. In this case, it will be delete EV, and after deleting it, we'll add a task using a post call like so, and we'll again make a get call to verify if it is added at the end of the to-do list. Let's add HTTP sampler for making a get call. Let's give it a name, get task. Since we have already specified the host and port in request defaults, we need not mention every time. So we'll just say method get and task. First, we need to save the plan, give it a run. To see the output, we need to add the listeners. That would be view result tree. Let's give it a run again and see what we get. We got get task, and this is the response. This is not formatted. We can install JSON formatter plugin. To see the formatted response, let's switch to JSON path tester. After making a get call, let's add a post processor, that is JSON extractor. Here we will extract the first task name from this response. Let's give this a name, task name extractor. We'll mention the name of the variable, task name. This is the name of the variable that JMeter will be using, and we need to find the path to the expression. Let's again go to view result tree. Here we will use JSON path tester, and we will specify $ is the root and dot task name, and we'll give it a test. This will give us the list of the task name and this response. You can refer to my video on JSON paths and expressions for more understanding on how we can use JSON paths expression. and we'll put the same expression here, $task name. This is doing is it is recursively finding this attribute in the response, irrespective of the location in the response. We'll say we want the first match, and we can also specify the default value here. If to see this JSON extractor working properly or not, we can add another post processor, that is debug post processor. Name this as check task name. Show us only the JMeter variables, and we'll set every other property to false. And let's give this a run and see what all attributes we are getting now. We'll clear the response tree using this button, and we start the test. This is what we get. Let me move it to the text. This is the response that we got. By EV is the first element in the response, and once we expand it, get task 0 will give us the name of the variable that we picked using the JSON expression. So we will delete this task using another HTTP sampler. So all we have to do is add another sampler, that is the HTTP sampler. We'll say delete task. Again, we need not specify the IP and the port. It is taken care from the request default. We'll make this to delete, and we specify the task and the variable name. So we can do that using curly braces start and end, and in between we specify the task JMeter variable name, that is task name. How do we, this is a URL for making a delete call. Let's clear the response and give this a run again. Here the response is 200. Now let's add a response assertion on delete. We'll give it a name, check response code. On main sample only, we'll check for the response code, and the value that we are expecting is 200. Now let's add the task that we are extracting using task name extractor. Again, we need to add an HTTP sampler. Give a name as add task. Let's reorder. After reordering it, we'll mention the method name and path, that is task. It will have a body of JSON type, that is task name, and we'll use curly braces start and end and that variable name. We also need to mention the JSON header for this. So we'll go to config header and header manager. We'll add a header, that is content type, that is application JSON. Now let's give this test a run. First clear this and we'll give it a run. Okay, we got the service response, everything right. As post give you of 201 created response code, let's add an assertion in add task. On main sample response code, and we are expecting 201. And now let's add another get call that will have an assertion, and in this we'll add a JSON assertions verify task. Again, we would need the JSON path $last element, that is in this case it will be 1, 2 and 3, that is the 0, 1, 2 dot task name. This is the last element here. So we are doing is we are pulling the last element of the service and verify if the newly added task is equal to the one that we added. We'll use the same JSON expression here, Again, if you want, you can check my JSON path and expression video, and I'll put a link in the I button. We are expecting $task name that we have from our task name extractor, that is task name, and we'll put a verification here like so. And here we are ready with the test plan, and give it a quick save, clean all the execution, and give it a run again. This is the reason of failure. Since we have 3 elements, it has to be 2 because index starts from 0. Give it a run again. All the test steps passed. After creating the test plan, click on the thread group. Now we can ramp up the number of users and the load on the system. 20 users and ramp up time of every 2 seconds. 1 user will be initiated, and hit the service 2 times. Give it a run. We'll quickly go to this. To see how it is behaving, we can add another listener to give us the time and to give us an understanding on how much time is taken by the service. We'll add a summary report. Let's run it again. The response time was minimum is 4 milliseconds and maximum is 115. You can also put an assertion on the duration, that is the time it is taking, the size of the payload it is returning back. So we can do like this, size in bytes here, we can specify equal, greater than, less than. We can do either on the full response body, on the headers, on the response body itself. We can also add assertions on duration, how much milliseconds it is taking. This calls the end of performance testing using JMeter. We learned how we can add a thread group add different samplers, add extractors, debug, HTTP headers, and we can put assertions on the size, duration, and we can also add JSON assertion to verify on the response. Thank you for watching this discussion on JMeter performance testing. Please like and subscribe.